So I'm enjoying this book, Learn Chess from the Greats, because it's a collection of very simple articles, one page each, or one column. Maybe it was a column in a newspaper, when newspaper existed. Now they don't exist anymore, practically. In any case, I like the book because the games are honestly simple enough for me to understand them without the need of using a computer. And for you guys, there is the advantage that you have my comment, right? So here I want to read you the Lopez sacrifice. Someone once said that civilization stands on the shoulders of giants. Well, the someone, I think it was Newton, but he was accused of plagiarize Leibniz, right, with calculus, and so he said, well, we all stand on the shoulder of giants, if I remember well. Okay, this is true in chess too. A great many masters and a great many games have given us entire opening systems, which we take for granted today as just so many memorized moves. We forget that a lot of trial and error went into these refined systems. It is not just true in openings. There are many chess books written on thematic sacrifices. These are sacrifices that you can learn and use as long as you are familiar with a pattern typical in certain positions. One of the fourth sacrifices we saw in person was a knight sacrifice in the Ruy Lopez. We remember telling a player how impressed we were by the sacrifice. He replied modestly, "Oh, that's just the Lopez sacrifice of a knight." So we learn that the defensive formation that black use in this game lends itself to the knight sacrifice you will see here. The player demonstrating it was I.E. Horowitz, Hall of Famer and long-time Chess Review editor. The game was played in Boston in 1938. Horowitz is white, black is a player called Martin. And we have a Martin bot, I think, in chess.com, so I guess if he's the same Martin, clearly he will lose in few moves. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop B5, A6, bishop A4, knight F6, castle, bishop E7. Now the Ruy Lopez has a theory that is kind of quite advanced, like the Sicilian, so I think the author doesn't really comment on them because it would be impossible. Queen E2, D6, right? Why D6? Because he wants to solve the problem of developing this bishop. And also it tells you something, because again, once more, I tell you, every time your opponent moves, there is a reason behind. They don't do it for no reason. Okay, apart some people that are really beginners and they don't know what to move. But if they are master level player, oh my god, you need to be careful, because whatever you do, it's dangerous. So, you know, I learned an opening and I thought I was an expert in that opening, and then one day I met in a game Grandmaster Alonso Zapata. He destroyed me. Of course, Zapata is a E4 player all his life, so he knows what he's doing. But I can tell you, I felt it from how he was moving his pieces that he was crushing me, because every move had an incredible, amazing meaning behind. Okay, sorry for the anecdotes. Let's continue. So after D6, white continue with C3. What is C3 for? Well, it takes away two squares to black. It helps to support this pawn when you want to attack the center, and of course you give a way to retreat to your light square bishop, right? So that's the reason. Bishop d7. This is obviously dangerous because he can play something like this, something like this. He can do a mess, no, right at the right moment, obviously. And white plays d4. After which black plays castle. Now the knight takes d4 is real, because he cannot take back with check, and so he's gonna gain a pawn, that's for sure, right? So I hope that white saw it, right? Or at least thought about it. Let's see what happens in the game, okay? He plays bishop c2, which means white knew that his bishop was in danger, and black plays queen e8. Now there is h3, taking away the possibility that the bishop has of pinning that. Rook d8, rook e1, and here there is king h8. King h8 is interesting because it tells you that probably black wants to play something like rook g8, maybe h6, g5, and start an attack on the king side. Otherwise, why did he put it here? White continue with knight bd2 because he needs to develop. This is the opening, right? And look here, I was wrong. It was not to play rook g8, but it was to free a square for doing something. Doing what? He wants to play knight g8, which means the next move is f5, and so he wants to activate the bishop pair. Okay, so I might get wrong why he played rook king h8, but I didn't get it wrong too much because I knew that there was a reason why I did that move. And so during a game you need to ask yourself, right? But not only that, if you ask yourself like now, like when I told you, and you would have paused the video and asked yourself, but why did he do that? And then you see this move, you have improved your chess. That's a fact. And of course, knight bd2, for example, is not the end of that knight, right? Because that knight is blocking this, which means he's going somewhere else. Where is he going? To f1. Now, strangely, black doesn't play f5. You know what he plays, guys? He plays something very strange, which is bishop f6. Look, I honestly don't know it. Why? Queen d1, knight c e7. This guy is doing a lot of maneuver with the knights, but honestly, at this point, they are not nice at all. Why? Because can you see that all these pieces are here? These pieces are doing nothing. You cannot play like that. You cannot play like that and think that you're going to win anything. Knight e3, c5, knight g4, and now he plays bishop takes g4. So black has lost the bishop pair. H takes g4 and knight c6. So imagine how many moves black has lost in this going back, this going here. It's a mess. Already now you can see that white will prevail. d5, watch again, knight b8. So you cannot win a game if all your pieces are on your fourth rank, right? Maybe it's good this position for chess 960 or freestyle chess, but definitely in a game you lose. Like this you lose, because your pieces must go on the other side. His pieces are all on his side. What is he doing? What is he doing with his pieces? Nothing, right? White continue with g3, and g3, I tell you, it's a very, very interesting move. Why? It's an interesting move because it tells me again something, right? We have seen that most of the moves lead to freeing a square for something else. So my idea of g3 is king g2 and rook h1. This is what he wants to do, and attack on this, right? So I don't know when he will do it. That's why we are watching the game, but I'm sure he will do it. Queen d7, and of course now white move the pawn because it doesn't want to lose a pawn that can be used for attacking, right? g5. Bishop e7. As you can see, white has also a space advantage, and now there is knight h4. So he's taking advantage of the fact that black has lost the bishop pair and is not controlling anymore the light squares, and so he will go to f5. But black wants to avoid that, and he creates a trouble for himself. What is the trouble? He plays g6. But now there are a lot of squares that are weak, and this has become really weak. Okay? So guess what? Like I told you a few moves ago, white played king g2 because he wants to play this and then eventually sacrifice and then go with the queen and win the game. So king g2, f6, attacking g5, rook h1, and here black plays king g7. At this point, guys, I tell you, white has done everything according to plan. The Lopez bishop are lined up, okay, as you can see, line up. The h file has been opened for the rook. The knight is poised for its final leap. Again, guys, if you want to learn chess, you get one of this clock. It could be also 10 minutes, right? You take the time you want, but that's it, okay? In 3 minutes or 10 minutes, you must find your line, and that's it. So now you pause your video and try to find the next move that white plays, okay? The next move is knight f5, check. G takes f5, and what would you play if you are white? So pause again the video and try to find what would you play if you are white. The move is rook takes h7, king takes h7, and again, what would you play if you are white? Because this is the reason why you are playing chess, to think, right? To think ahead. That's called planning. And white played queen h5, check. Now the game is kind of finished, and you can see it, because if he goes here, probably g6 and queen h7 over. Notice of these two guys, okay? So what did he do? He played knight h6. Knight h6, queen takes h6. Thank you very much. King g8 is trying to escape, right? So you need to block it. You need to block it. You need to block it. You cannot let him escape. Queen g6. Now, queen h8, rook h8, sorry, oof. What a big mistake, sorry. King h8, and white needs to play one move to win the game, because this thing is covered, right? You just need to cover this. How do you do it? Bishop e3. And black resign. Of course, the next move is rook h1, probably checkmate. Maybe you can try to defend, I don't know, but I think it's kind of clear that black has lost the game. Now keep in mind, guys, when you are beginners, you are afraid to sacrifice pieces like he did with knight f5. But again, the pieces and the pawns are not important, because the goal of a game is to give checkmate, to kill the general of the other army, the king. If you don't think in those terms, if you just think in terms of I gain a pawn, you gain a pawn, you will not learn much, especially in the beginning. Then, of course, when you become a more seasoned player, yes, the difference may be only a pawn that you need to convert in a win. And that's why I took this book, Excelling Technical Chess, because technical chess is that, right? You have a little advantage from the middle game, you bring it into the end game, in the end game you are able to convert it into a win. But of course, we can also have fun with little books like this one, Learn Chess from the Greats, of Peter J. Tamburro. Why? Because honestly, you can spend 10 minutes and enrich yourself with these aesthetic beauties of these little games. By the way, there are also positions that he shows that are kind of interesting, but as I said before, I like to show complete games generally. So thank you very much for watching, and if you find it at a great price, like $2-3, buy it because it's worth it, okay? Thank you very much.